Hello, and thanks for stopping by. Nelson's Column is one of London's most recognisable landmarks. But it isn't the only column in central London, and it isn't the oldest either. Just a few minutes from here, there stands a similar memorial, also dedicated to a military commander. A column that nobody seems to talk about, despite predating Nelson's by several years, and sparking great controversy when it was first unveiled. It's known as the Duke of York's Column. You'll find the Duke of York's Column between the Mall, Carlton House Terrace and Waterloo Place. Yet despite its central location, it's often overlooked by tourists who are more drawn to nearby Buckingham Palace, Piccadilly Circus, and yes, Nelson's Column. The Duke perched atop this overlooked landmark is, to give him his full name, Prince Frederick, Duke of York and Albany, the second son of Queen Charlotte and King George III. Born in St James's Palace in 1763, Frederick joined the army at the age of 16 and went on to hold several commanding roles. In battle though, he wasn't too successful. In fact, it's believed he inspired the nursery rhyme The Grand Old Duke of York, with the part about him marching 10,000 men up and then back down a hill, possibly being a satirical reference to a humiliating retreat he conducted during the French Revolutionary Wars. Although inexperience played a part in this, to be fair to Frederick, the army was in a rather sorry state at that time, and so, when he rose to become Commander-in-Chief, he introduced a number of major reforms, which were credited with greatly improving the nation's military. One example being the foundation of Sandhurst Military College. Frederick also founded the Royal Military Asylum in Chelsea, originally as a home for children who'd been orphaned by the Napoleonic Wars. Today, this is known as the Duke of York's headquarters, part of which houses the Saatchi Gallery. Despite his successful overhaul of the army, reform some historians believe helped lay the groundwork for victory at Waterloo, Frederick resigned in 1809 following a scandal involving his mistress, Mary Anne Clarke, who was accused of selling army commissions supposedly with the Duke's support, a wrongdoing which was lampooned by this cartoon. Nevertheless, after he died in 1827, aged 63, it was decided the Duke of York should be honoured with a monument, which, controversially, was largely funded by taking a cut out of every single British soldier's wages. As you can imagine, the troops weren't too happy at having their pockets dipped into, so much so it was joked at the time that the Duke's statue was placed high up in order to protect it from an angry mob. There is another theory as to why he's all the way up there, which I'll tell you later. The architect chosen for the project was Benjamin Dean Wyatt, whose other major works include Apsley House, aka No. 1 London, and the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. The column is built from granite quarried in Aberdeenshire, and stands at 137 feet, or 41.9 metres, tall. When completed in 1834, it was one of the tallest columns in the world. As for the statue of Frederick, that was sculpted by Sir Richard Westmacott at his studio on Mount Street in Mayfair. One of Westmacott's earlier works was this mighty statue of Achilles just off of Park Lane, which, due to a certain part of his anatomy, caused quite a stir at the time, although that's a story for another video. It's difficult to appreciate from all the way down here, but the Duke's statue is twice life-size and weighs in at 16,840 pounds, or 7,640 kilograms. When it was first unveiled, there were many who believed the Duke of York was unworthy of the memorial, and that a statue of Nelson should have been placed on top instead. Remember, this was some time before Nelson's column went up. As one letter to the press complained, I could not help asking myself what the Duke of York had done for England, that she should thus commemorate him. The correspondent then went on to say that the Duke, in reference to the Mary Anne Clarke incident, had abandoned a whole service to the avaricious practices of an otherwise unpaid prostitute, and that the statue should therefore be torn down. Initially, the Duke of York's column was open as an attraction to the public. Inside, there are 168 steps, which lead up to a viewing platform, from which fine views can be had of St James's Park. In December 1848, a large crowd gathered below to watch an early electric light experiment conducted from the balcony, essentially turning the column into a lighthouse. As the Times reported, the electric light, wherever it chanced to fall, made every part of the buildings in Waterloo Place perfectly visible, and its effect might perhaps, without exaggeration, be said to be more powerful than the brightest sun. The column's history isn't all about bombastic pageantry though. Sadly, it also became a known suicide spot, and following a number of deaths, the viewing platform was closed to the public in the mid-19th century. Today, only maintenance crews are permitted to ascend it. From the south, the column is approached via a grand staircase known as the Duke of York Steps. In 1936, these steps played a major role in the funeral of the German ambassador Herr Leopold von Hirsch, when his coffin was conveyed down them, the German embassy in those days being next to the Duke of York's column on Carlton House Terrace. As this was 1936, Hirsch's coffin was draped with a Nazi flag, making it one of the very few times the Nazi swastika was openly displayed in London. Despite this, Leopold von Hirsch was in fact no fan of the Nazi Party. He was well respected in Britain, having done much to improve Anglo-German relations in the wake of the Great War, and it's been speculated that the stress of dealing with Hitler contributed to the heart attack that killed him at the age of just 55. One of London's great curiosities, this little gravestone dedicated to Leopold's faithful dog, Giro, who died in 1934 after chewing through an electrical cable, can be spotted on this patch right beside the Duke of York's column. It survived the Second World War, most likely due to a mixture of a quiet respect for Herr Hirsch and the British love of dogs. As well as appearing in newsreel footage of Herr Hirsch's funeral, the area around the Duke of York's column can also be seen in numerous films, such as The Charge of the Light Brigade, 101 Dalmatians, and 28 Days Later. As for the other theory as to why the Duke of York is stuck so high up, well, he happened to be a prolific gambler and flitted away a fortune at both the racetrack and card table. Consequently, when he passed away, he was in massive debt. Some estimates put the amount he owed at £2 million, which would be roughly 115 million in today's money, leading many Londoners to claim the Duke was plonked out of reach in order to avoid his many creditors. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at the history of the Duke of York's column, and as always, I'd love to hear your own thoughts. Have you ever taken the time to look at this forgotten monument in more detail? And do you think the viewing platform should perhaps be reopened? Please be sure to let me know in the comments. If you haven't yet subscribed to Robslondon, then I'd appreciate it very much if you could please consider doing so, as this, along with clicking the bell icon to receive notifications, will ensure that you don't miss out on any future videos. Plus of course, it'd be wonderful to have you along. And if you enjoyed this film, you can also give it a little boost by clicking the YouTube hype button below. If you're feeling extra generous, you can also support my work with a tip via either my Ko-fi account, which I'll link below, or the YouTube thanks button, which appears as a heart icon beneath the video. Any such financial donations are of course greatly appreciated, and they really do help go towards creating content. Anyway, on that note, thanks again for watching friends. Stay well, and please be sure to stay tuned.